Hello everyone and welcome to AFTV News Daily with me, Cecil G, and I've got Julian with me.
How you doing?
I'm very good. How have you been today? You've been here all day. You've had a good day. You've had Sky Andrews here.
Sky Andrews, interviewed Sky Andrews. Really exciting. Talking about probably the greatest transfer in the history of football.
Yeah, it meant a lot to you, didn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't say it changed my life, but at the time it massively enhanced my life.
Why is that? Where were you? This is a show we're going. Where were you when Arsenal? So I want you guys to get involved. Everyone watching in the comments, let us know where you were. Julian's got many stories. Julian loves to do this. I always ask him, where were you when this happened? He's like, well, actually, I had a story. So we're going to do that today, and I want to hear from you guys. We're going to hear from Julian. Let's go to that Sol Campbell. I know we didn't plan this one, but that transfer, where were you then when you found out? Because obviously it came out of the blue. It came out of nowhere.
Yeah, it completely came out of nowhere. It was my 30th birthday, July the 1st. Mm-hmm. Just lost my job in the city, been made redundant.
Sorry to hear that.
At the time it was a bit of a shock.
Yeah.
I'm just about to hit 30. Parents start giving me a little bit of aggravation and pressure. Oh, you're still single, you've got to get married, what are you going to do with your life? You haven't got a job.
Blimey.
So what do? Go off to Faliraki for a week to get my head together, celebrate.
Yeah.
Things start to improve in Faliraki. I remember I'm sitting by the pool.
Mm-hmm.
And a gentleman comes up to me. I call him a gentleman in the loosest term. He was wearing a Chelsea shirt. And he says to me, Sol Campbell's just signed for Arsenal. And this came totally out of the blue. We all thought he was going to Barcelona. Now, that for me was so powerful for two reasons. Something I said in my fan cam is that I go to Arsenal and I watch football for two reasons. Number one, to watch Arsenal win, and number two, the enjoyment of watching Spurs lose.
They lost massively that day.
They lost massively. Now Spurs, you think Spurs are useless at the moment. They were even worse back then.
Would you say Sol Campbell was their best player at that?
Absolutely. It wasn't even close. You couldn't say, okay, there's a range of different players, and he was the best of them. He was by far the best. He was a great player in a very, very poor team. So not only did we take their best player, which was wonderful, is he filled a gap for us because Adams was coming towards the end of his career. Although Wenger had come, and we look back at those early years of Wenger, we think, it was all great, but we won the double very early on in his tenure. But then what happened was that we saw Arsenal come a close second to United for a number of years. So we're always I would always count it first loser, second place first loser. And it was even more heartbreaking to come so close. I mean, when you look at the 99 season, it's remembered for United winning the treble. But what I remember is Arsenal should have won the double.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if it wasn't for the fact that we lost at Leeds in the penultimate game, 1-0, I think it was the 85th minute, we would have won the league that season. If it hadn't been for, I'd say, a Bergkamp miss. But it was Schmeichel that, I had a look at it today. Schmeichel moved and dived before he took the penalty. He missed, in effect, a last-minute penalty in the semi-final. Had he scored that, Arsenal would have gone on to the final, almost undoubtedly beaten Newcastle, and we would have won the double. But instead, it's remembered for United win the treble. It was that close. So not only did it come at a great time, it's always a great time to take Spurs' best player. But it also filled a gap. Adams was coming towards the end of his career, and it was kind of that missing link, which then led on to unparalleled success.
Yeah, he was the piece to the puzzle that Arsenal needed around that time, and like you said, it came out of nowhere as a big shock. But what a great signing! He came to win trophies, and I know you spoke with Sky Andrews. Guys, make sure you check out the podcast. It's coming to you very soon. The Marble Halls with Julian Harvey. Really good insight to Sky Andrews, who broke the deal for Sol Campbell to come to Arsenal. I sat in and listened to it. It was very good, and it was massive at the time.
It was insightful, wasn't it? Because it's all very well, talking about me, losing my job and being by a swimming pool and hearing about that and rushing home. And the first thing I did when I got home was buy an Arsenal shirt with Campbell written on the back. But slightly more interesting than that was the story of Sky Andrew from the inside.
Right, exactly that, and he breaks it all down for you. So, like I said, make sure you check out that. You touched on we're gonna. I see a lot of people saying I was in my diapers and I wasn't born when the Sol Campbell transfer happened in the comments. There's going to be a lot of moments where I actually wasn't born, but we're going to go through some dates of Arsenal's great history, and Julian's going to let us know where he was. And if I can remember some of the times, I'll also say where I was, but it's mainly for Julian because he's got such lavish stories when it comes to these great dates.
And also I'm slightly older than you.
And you are just a fractionally older than me.
Although not in maturity, just in biological age.
True. But before we go into Arsenal, where were you when? Obviously there's been some news today. Obviously Saka and Ramsey have been called up to England. I think it's kind of general news for you guys if you didn't know that. How do you feel that Saka's been called up to England, and do you think he should play? Because obviously we are through already in our group. He came off injured at Brighton.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. I mean, the way that he was looking, like, I don't want to see him injured. However, there was a kind of slight relief thinking, if he is going to get injured, what a great time to get injured just before the international break. Give him time to recover. I mean, I've said so many times, I'm not a football fan. I like England, but fundamentally, I'm an Arsenal fan.
Yeah.
So the benefit of Arsenal is my priority. So I don't want to see him play because he's looking tired.
Yeah, agree.
And if he needs a rest, I'd far rather in the next few weeks while he was playing for England or not.
Yeah, I agree, Julian. I know he put a post on social media showing how happy he was to be back at England, but I think it's not priority right now for that.
Well, it's never a priority for me.
Yeah, for you. I know there's a lot of fans that are on that. And right now, if I'm honest, I'm obviously, again, Arsenal are my first love over the internationals, but I don't think it's needed. It's not that important right now. We're through in the group stages. It's not necessary for Saka to even risk getting injured. We need him back at Arsenal. But
is he still injured? What was wrong with him?
I don't know.
We know?
Well, Arteta did say that it was only something small, minor.
Well, he's only small, isn't he? So it can't be that big.
True. I think it was. I don't know exactly what it was, but they said it's not too serious. So maybe he can play, but I just think, is it worth risking it when we need him back at Arsenal?
Well, for us, it's not worth risking because we ultimately care more about Arsenal.
Agreed. Very much agreed. And then the second bit of news, which, yes, it's not Arsenal related, but it definitely affects Arsenal. Now, you guys, I don't know if you heard today about the Newcastle, the ownership of Newcastle United being back on by the wealthy owners. Their names, if I got the exact name.
It's the Saudis,
the Saudi Arabia, the owners. They've got a net worth of 320 billion. Now, to put that into perspective.
And that's pounds, not that it really matters.
No, some people listen, that might matter. Yeah, 320 billion pounds. Sheikh Mansour, obviously at Man City, his net worth is 23.3 billion. That may have gone up a little bit or gone down a tiny bit. And Roman Abramovich at Chelsea is 9.6 billion.
Oh, paupers compared.
And then Stan Kroenke at fourth is Arsenal owner, obviously with 6.8 billion. So the gap between these new owners that might be coming to Newcastle is scarily big, and yes, it will have effect on us in a sense that Newcastle might be the new Man Cities and more, as in new management, new world-class players. Big investment. It's back on basically. It's not confirmed that it's going to happen, but it's back on.
It looks pretty nailed on from what I was reading before we came on air.
It's pretty close. I'm going to be honest to happening. So, how do you feel about that? How that dynamic of Newcastle United having these rich owners maybe becoming a big six or a top six?
A big six.
Big six. I've got to say big because I guess the money.
I mean, they'll become a big one, the biggest one. Football is pretty much about money. You look at the last 10 seasons, 7 out of the last 10 seasons, and I'll call them the sugar daddy clubs, just in case anyone's of any doubt. Sugar daddy clubs for me, Man City and Chelsea.
Yeah. Would you want this owner at Arsenal though? I wouldn't mind a sugar daddy. I can't lie. I wouldn't mind one at Arsenal. Gonna be honest.
Okay, so
320 billion pounds, Julian.
Okay, it's really difficult for me to answer, but I'm going to answer that. In that, my feelings are, I am totally against it, and there's so many reasons why I'm against the sugar daddies coming in.
Yeah.
However, it would be absolutely hypocritical for me to then go and say, yes, I'd love them to buy Arsenal.
So where's the answer? So is it a yes, I would want them at Arsenal? Or
look, if we look at, let's take Manchester City. When I was growing up, an away day at Manchester City usually meant we were 4 goals to the good within 20 minutes. They were a nothing team. I liked Manchester City. They were kind of almost everyone's second team because they normally they had a chance to get a good result against United, and they were the other team in Manchester, and we all hated United. So City were kind of a popular team.
Yeah.
Then literally overnight, I think it was around 2006, you get the Qataris come in, and I don't even know if they knew where Manchester was. City were in the old third division not so long ago, and suddenly they throw the most outrageous amount of money.
Yeah, crazy.
It was crazy. They had a share capital in 2006 of less than £1 million. 2019, 2020, that's at 1.3 billion. Billion. It's gone from under £1 million to 1.3 billion from 2006 to the 2019-20 season.
Bloody hell.
Now,
I wonder what Newcastle's is at now and will be.
Yeah.
When they come in after a few years, it'd be interesting.
Yeah, I wouldn't even take it. It'd be a few years.
Yeah.
So what happens to City? City go from look. I'm not saying they were nothing because they meant something to their supporters.
Correct.
But as regards trophies and being a serious team, they were a nothing team. They were a nothing. They had no real history of success, and within the space of a few years, they start attracting almost immediately. I think Robinho was the first player. He didn't know where Manchester was. I think he thought he was signing for United. he turns up. He's the first player. Then, very, very quickly, they attract all the big players. And there can only be one reason why they want to attract the big players. It's money.
Yeah,
money. And
money.
I'm not saying that if I was a player, I wouldn't have gone there. Obviously, I'd play for Arsenal and that's it. But if the average player that didn't have this affinity to Arsenal, I'm sure I'd have my head turned by money. So it would be hypocritical for me to say I don't understand it, how wrong it is. But that is the reality.
It came down to money.
It comes down to money. So you get the situation where you have two teams at the moment that had very little history of success, that have won 7 out of the last 10 Premiership competitions. Now, when we go back to last season in the European Super League, I totally understand the reasons why people were against it. I mean, you yourself, you were against it as well, weren't you, Cecil?
Yeah, I was against the Super League, and I know there was you questioned it at times and said there is some benefits to it. And I actually, when you spoke to me and broke down some of the reasons, some things I was like, okay, I agree with that, but the no competition,
absolutely,
laws within it just kind of ruined the whole thing for me. And yeah, just the big six or top six being in it every year didn't sit well with me, or every 2 years. So yeah,
so absolutely, and I totally understood that, and I agreed with it. As football fans, we want competition. Right. So I understood we don't want the European Super League because it's not competitive. That isn't the game we love and are supported. Now, if money is dominating football,
which is,
and you allow the sugar daddies to basically reign free, and then you bring in a third super daddy, what's going to happen?
It's going to be money, all money.
Well, it is all money. But what you're going to get is 3 teams dominating, or maybe just one.
Yeah, it could be just
as
one.
you
said,
the difference is. And Newcastle haven't got a history of success. Newcastle have got a history of failure.
Yeah, it's true. Not doing too well.
Yeah, so whereas you look at Arsenal, look at Arsenal's history. 1930s, we won our first, we won championships. 1940s, 1950s, we won championships under Herbert Chapman, Whittaker, Allison. 1970s, we won the double, Bertie Mee. 1980s and 90s, we won championships, FA Cups, Cup Winners' Cup with George Graham. Arsene Wenger, we know all about. The success that he had. Even under Mikel Arteta, we've had success. Now,
in a trophy, that is.
As regards a trophy. Now, where I appreciate, and one of the things I can be absolutely supportive of Arsenal is organic growth.
Yeah.
The reason I've supported Arsenal and been drawn to Arsenal is because they've built up this success over so many years, and it makes it more natural.
Yeah, I agree.
But what have we got now? We've got teams like City and Chelsea, and now looks like Newcastle. They're a nothing team. Suddenly they're everything. So what's the next one going to be? Halifax? Someone comes in and, here's a few billion, and
could
they're
be Salford City with the,
it could be any of them. But it takes away the competitive element of football that we're looking for, that organic growth. We're looking for it being deserved. So do City, Chelsea and Newcastle deserve that kind of success? And is it real success? Because if you just go and buy something, where's the competition? It comes back to the same thing as the reasons why the fans rejected the European Super League.
Yeah, Julian, I think you're right there. I think in the sense of, even though you just dodged around a lot of what I asked you, would you want the super sugar daddy at Arsenal? It was a great monologue, and it did. You distracted me from that. I want to say that obviously Arsenal and the Invincible team were built by a great manager at the time as well. Came in, changed the dynamics of just football in general in this country.
And it was a beautiful thing.
It was amazing. It was a full journey that he took you on, and we did something that's still not been beaten to this day, this unbeaten season. So you're right, that's organic, that's natural, something I bought into as a kid. I think many other fans did. That's why we support and love this club. Or you may have supported them before then, but that I really bought into that when I was growing up. And yeah, I guess having Man City and the Chelsea's there, well, not Chelsea, but Man City's and potentially the new Newcastle will change that. But again, before we move on to Arts, wherever you were at this stage, super sugar daddy at Arsenal, would you want it, yes or no? £320 billion owner.
Okay. What I would rather, and then I will answer the question, I promise you.
I'm waiting for the answer.
What I would rather would be no sugar daddies.
Fair.
No sugar, financial fair play to be administered effectively.
Properly, yeah.
That would be my choice, and then it's all organic growth. Who's the best team? Who has the fairest, proper revenues? Genuine revenues. But in a long-winded way, would I have them? Yes.
Thank you. We got there in the end, people.
I am a hypocrite.
Listen, money talks. Money talks.
But I'm a hypocrite. What can I say? I would
rather. At least you admit it.
Yeah, I admit it, but it's wrong. It is wrong. It's wrong.
It is wrong, and it's ruining. It's not ruining football, but it is slowly going towards.
No, it's not even slowly. That's the thing. It's just bang. It's money.
Yeah.
And that's it. It's ruining football. Would I want Arsenal to lose graciously or win hypocritically? I'd rather than win hypocritically, because I'm an addict, as you know.
Fair. Yeah, no, I know. Will Ricketts says, Cecil and Julian and chat. This is obviously a bit off topic. Would you take Dele Alli, who is still only 25?
No.
We'll leave it now.
No, thank you. Well, I mean, especially after seeing him play the other week, that was one of my highlights.
Yeah, no, Dele Alli is definitely a player. I don't really like his style of play. I don't think he's playing well either. I just don't think he would suit Arsenal anyway. But let's get into
That's because he's not very good.
Yeah, well, there you go. Yeah. Where were you, saying that quickly, I was supposed to body double him at one point in my life.
Okay. Well, he obviously looks good then. He just doesn't play good.
I'll take that as a compliment, but it fell through, so it's all good. Don't have to be doubling no Tottenham players. Where were you when Arsenal ... Let's start, Julian. And people in the chat as well, everyone listening, I would love to know. Some of you may not have been born this first one. I was not born. It's going to kind of show my age through this.
I'm going to show my age.
It's all right. Let's go to May 26th, 1989. So I'm going to read out what it was Liverpool 0, Arsenal 2. 18 years had passed since Arsenal's title win in 1971, when they next had a chance to finish atop the old First Division, but coming into the final day of the 1988-1989 season, the Gunners needed to score 2 more clear goals and the title rivals Liverpool, and then last match just happened to come against the Reds at Anfield. Do you remember that, Julian? Do you remember where you were? Do you remember what was going on there?
Do I remember? I think one of the criticisms of my wedding speech was that I spent 80% of it talking about May 26th, 1989, and I didn't really spend enough of it talking about my future ex-wife.
Oh my days.
May 26th, 1989 was the greatest moment of my life, bar none.
Oh, seriously?
So do I remember it?
So you definitely, this one's set in stone in your memory?
I think about it every day.
Blimey.
Every single day. It's
a good one to start with.
Yeah, it's the day that made me who I am.
In what sense?
Okay, so I was born in 71, a couple of months after Arsenal won the league with Bertie Mee, the double. So I'm 17 years old. I'm still at school. I'm doing my A-levels.
Yeah.
And I don't know if people know the history of it, but we were supposed to be playing Liverpool the week after Hillsborough. and because of Hillsborough, the game got postponed.
Okay.
And for the first time in a league season, the two top teams, and it wasn't. This was before the Premier League. This wasn't designed by Sky and contrived.
By the commercial brands.
This happened organically. It just so happened that the two top teams were playing each other in that last game. Now, Arsenal had gone through the season. We'd had the most phenomenal season, and we started throwing it away. But we were still ahead when Hillsborough happened. And when Hillsborough happened, there was a lot of talk about the season being scrapped.
Yeah.
And it wasn't, but the season was postponed. Once the teams came back playing, Liverpool won pretty much every game, and Arsenal really faltered. Yeah. And Liverpool back then were the greatest team, bar none, probably in world football, not just in
Britain.
That they were absolutely phenomenal. I had tickets for the original game, and I've still got the ticket stub. And that'd
be worth quite a bit. That's probably even now.
Possibly, but for me, it's priceless. It's priceless. My father offered me. I was in the middle of my A-levels, and my father offered me, I think back then, about £400 not to go to the game. He wasn't going to the game himself; just didn't want me going because he said it would impact on the rest of my life. And for me, I didn't understand why, because this was a unique moment that I was, for the first time in my life, I was 17 years old, had the opportunity to go and watch Arsenal win the league. And if I'd failed my A-levels, I could always retake in November. But this game was never, ever being replayed. It was phenomenal. And thankfully, because I have a very good relationship with my father, I rejected his very unkind offer. I have a vague recollection of leaving an A-level 45 minutes early so I could get on a coach to go to Anfield.
Wow. Blimey.
And we were on a coach for 7-8 hours getting up there, caught in it rather like...
were you by yourself as well?
I was with some friends from school.
Okay.
Went up on the coach, rather similar journey to our Burnley trip a few weeks ago, but even worse. Bank holiday, got into the ground. I was convinced Arsenal were going to win. I was absolutely convinced.
Even though Liverpool at the time were...
Liverpool at the time, my dad was saying, well, what's the point? You're going to fail your A-levels. You're going to... you're just going up there. What's the... the newspapers at the time had headlines, you don't stand a chance. We had to go win by 2 clear goals. There were so many stats behind that game. Liverpool hadn't lost there for countless seasons, hadn't lost by 2 goals. For Arsenal hadn't won there.
So all the odds were stacked against us.
All the odds were stacked against us, but George Graham said we were going to win.
And you bought? Did you buy into that?
I bought into it. I bought into it.
That is football.
It was the... it was that youthful naivety. If George Graham tells me we're going to win,
that's it.
We're going to win. Now, it was 0-0 at half time. It was still it was a phenomenal game. I'm not sure whether the game was that great or just so much was riding on it. But there was so much emotion on that evening. It was a warm May night, and I actually experienced one of the lowest moments of my life on the 76th minute. I think Michael Thomas was through because the way George described it is, he said, look, we're going to keep it tight at half time. It's going to be 0-0. We'll get a goal early in the second half, and then they'll start to get nervous, and we'll hit them towards the end and make it 2-0. Well, if George says it, that's exactly how it's going to. It's just going to happen.
So I love that you just believe everything you said.
So just as George said, 0-0 at half time, no problem. It's great. Alan Smith scores in the 52nd minute. So it's playing script. And then Michael Thomas is through towards the end, I think it was 76th minute, and he just puts it straight into Grobbelaar's hands. Suddenly, oh no, it's like, that was it. That was it, That was it. It's like, this was my dream in life. My dream in life was to watch Arsenal win the league. And it's snatched away from me. Now, this is before the days of, the clocks where you know exactly how long's to go. You have a clock.
But you have to kind of work out.
You've got to work out. So if you don't look at your watch, what time starts, you don't quite know when it started. And I thought it was towards the end. And I remember maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes goes on, and Liverpool are attacking. And it is towards the end. The referee can blow his whistle anytime. You just don't know.
Of course.
And I turned around to the guy next to me, and I said, how long to go? And he said, oh, it's all over. And walked towards the entrance. I don't know to this day whether he left I didn't know the guy. I just said, well, Stanley, how long's the game?
He'd have been gutted if he'd have been probably one of the biggest regrets of his life.
It would have been, for me, it would have been, I couldn't not leave.
Yeah.
And I've said this before, I'm not a religious man.
Yeah.
You know, I'm Jewish, hadn't been to the synagogue since I was 13 at my bar mitzvah. But they always say at moments of desperation, you turn to God. So Liverpool are attacking, and I look up to the heavens. I said, please God, let Arsenal score. Please God, let Arsenal score. 10 seconds later, the ball's in the back of the Liverpool net. Now, not only am I convinced that there's a God, I'm convinced that God is an Arsenal fan. I'm absolutely convinced.
That is a quote. Yeah, but the quote of the year.
Yeah, but so then I'm up all night. You know, you can talk about.
I've got shivers. Yeah,
I mean, I have as well. Just thinking about that. I mean, they say, I remember seeing the '89 documentary, and they talk about, you know, time stood still. And actually, have you seen that documentary?
No.
It's fantastic, and they slow it down because when he was clean through, Thomas, it's up for grabs now, bursting through the midfield. Not that I know the whole commentary verbatim, but time did stand still, and he hit the ball, and it just almost crept. It just, the whole place went silent, silent, quiet. And the ball hit the back. This is my recollection. Whether it happened like this, but other people said the same thing, including the players that were there. And the ball hit the back of the Liverpool net, and for what seemed like a few seconds, it was just silence because you couldn't believe what had happened. And then suddenly it happened.
A realisation of what's happened.
Arsenal have just won the league at Anfield in the most dramatic end to the league season in the history of football.
Yeah.
And I was there. So I couldn't get. So I was back. I think we got back.
You said it's 8 hours up there. How was it like going back? Like,
no. I mean, I remember being really thirsty because we couldn't get a drink. This was back in the days where shops closed at 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
And I just remember being really thirsty on the way home. So my only recollection of being thirsty, but I was on such a high. We get back to Highbury. It must have been about 3 o'clock in the morning, 2-3 o'clock in the morning, and the streets are still. I don't know if you've seen Fever Pitch, where they film, and there's a party on the streets at Highbury. It's still there. There was a party, and the streets,
I think I saw images of that actually.
And the streets are still filled with people at 2-3 o'clock in the morning. So we're partying on the streets of Highbury. I've eventually got back home.
What did you say to your dad? Was he awake when you were coming in?
He was awake he wasn't awake waiting for me, but I just couldn't sleep. I'm still on a high now. How many years later?
I can tell. I'm looking at your eyes.
I mean, on the day, I was like, on the night, I couldn't get sleep. So I was just going on and on and on about how could he say Arsenal were going to lose? You know, this is the greatest moment in history, not even the history of football. This is the greatest moment ever. And I thought, right, okay, so God's an Arsenal fan. Right, I need to go back to the synagogue. The game's on a Friday night, so I'm at the synagogue for the start of it. So I hadn't gone to sleep. And the rabbi's seen me for the first time since I was 13. You know, this is like 4 years later, 5 years later even. And so he sort of says hello, and you know, it's really nice to see you. So. He asked me what I was doing here, so I've recounted this story of how I found God. You know, God is an Arsenal fan, and he goes, "Well, you know, it comes. You know, God appears in all different ways to different people. So why don't you come to the synagogue for the summer and just start coming?" So I start going to the synagogue every week because I wanted to thank God for Arsenal to win the league. And it wasn't until the first game of the next season that I lost my faith when Arsenal lose 4-1 away to United. And I'm convinced that God's now not an Arsenal fan. However, I later read Tony Adams' autobiography. And in there, he admits that a few of the players, including himself, went out on a bender the night before. So it had nothing to do with God. It had everything to do with Tony Adams going out on a bender, a few other players and not playing. So that was my fleeting experiences with religion.
Interesting. Listen, Julian, I'm going to be honest, that was, again, this is why we got Julian on for this show, and I got people in the comments as well saying where they were. Thank you for that. That was incredible. There's going to be many more of stories. We're going to go to our next one after this. But Wayne Sage says, I was 8 years old and just fallen in love with the sport. I saw someone comment as well saying it was the greatest day of their lives as well. Ichiku says, don't need a sugar daddy. Obviously, this is the past comments before. City failed. Facts, no fans. So yeah, and then I saw someone say, hold on, sorry, I'm going to quickly see if I can cut this up. Yeah, someone said that I was 11 years old. It was the best day of my life as an Arsenal fan. So I mean, people are agreeing. I think that was a massive day in Arsenal's history, and probably many football fans.
It couldn't be written. I mean, they compare that to City beating QPR with one of the last kicks of the game. But when you kind of think back at that, City with all that money behind them, they're playing QPR, who are, from memory, they're already relegated. QPR are down to 10 men. It just wasn't the same achievement.
Yeah.
We weren't expected to win there. Of course, City against QPR. How can they even talk about that in the same sentence?
Exactly that. It was Aston, that said, "Yep, I was 11, the best day as an Arsenal supporter ever." So big up Aston as well. So he agrees with you. Best day that. Now there's quite a lot of days that we're going to go through today. We're going to go to number 2 here. This is May 4th, 2002. Obviously, we're going to go to the FA Cup final. It was Arsenal 2, Chelsea 0. So I'm going to read out to you. In 2002, the FA Cup final was played before the end of the Premier League season. It was also staged at Cardiff's Millennium Stadium, as the new Wembley was still under construction. I remember this. With 20 minutes remaining, Ray Parlour opened the scoring against the opponents Chelsea, and exactly 10 minutes later, Freddie Ljungberg put the finishing touches on a 2-0 win that would set up a historic double. Now, obviously the double, that's the year we won the double, and I'm going to combine this date with another date, May 8th. So obviously May 4th, the week before, we got May 8th here, 2002, Man United versus Arsenal. So Arsenal win 1-0. I know you want to talk about this as well. Arsenal had already won the FA Cup when they travelled to Old Trafford in search for a historic double. Unbeaten away from home in 2001-2002, the Gunners scored the only goal of their showdown with Manchester United when Sylvian Wiltord turned Freddie Ljungberg's rebound past Fabian Barthez, that ball. I remember that ball goalkeeper, that black.
He used to get kissed, didn't he? Before, by Laurent Blanc,
was
it?
And he said, yeah. I remember this as well. Incredibly, Arsenal had won the match despite the absence of Tony Adams. Oh, I didn't know this. Robert Pires, Dennis Bergkamp, and Thierry Henry. I knew some of them were missing, but I didn't know Henry didn't play in that game. Interesting. So let's talk about both those dates. Where were you? Let's start with obviously the Chelsea FA Cup final the week before, and then
it was the weekend before.
And then obviously the Man United win where we beat them 1-0.
Okay, so interestingly enough, for me it's combined because, as usual, I was at the cup final. I have missed an Arsenal victory, as in when they've won a trophy, since 1986. I've been at every single game where they'd won a trophy.
Yeah.
So I was at the cup final.
Is that inclusive? So every final game that can obviously get them over the line, and including all cup finals as well?
I mean, I'd been to all cup finals, all major games. Yes, I've not been to every single game, but every what I would call meaningful game. Paris in 95, Copenhagen in 94. I'd been everywhere. League Cup, whenever there was a final, I was going to loads of games. That's why I was able to get tickets.
Right.
So I went up to the cup final in Cardiff. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't say Chelsea at that time, it wasn't like they are today. We were expected to win, and we did win. The one thing I remember about that game was the commentary. It's only Ray Parlour, which was as he went through and then hit the most magnificent shot.
Yeah, I remember.
But what I remember mostly about that cup final was me trying to source a ticket for the game at Old Trafford.
Why was it so? You said you've been at every. What's so difficult about this one?
Well, I couldn't seem to get a ticket. For some reason, I'd missed the ball on getting a ticket, but I was always confident. I know a lot of people. Yeah. I wouldn't say I know a lot, but I know a lot of people that know. And I was trying to source a ticket, and I got him. I got introduced, I remember that day, to Gavin Dean, who's the chairman's, what's the Dean?
David Dean.
So David Dean's son. He was running a trip, and it was chartered a plane.
For the fans? Or people close to him?
It was fans. It was £500.
Jeez, at that time, that's a lot of money.
£500. It was a flight up there, tickets for the game, a meal. And I thought, £500 to me, I'm a bit like, when we talk about the sugar daddies, it's kind of cheating. you know, for me to
you want to hold on to them. You want to hold on to.
Yeah, I want to do it in the organic way.
The cheapest way possible.
Yeah, cheapest way possible. I don't want to pay £500.
Yeah, fair.
And I politely declined the offer. And as the game came out, a few days after, I still couldn't get a ticket. And this story goes back actually to 1993. I was at university,
right? And
Arsenal were playing in the cup final against Sheffield Wednesday, and it was again during my finals. I was getting pressure from my father. Saying, "Oh, you know, you got your finals. Why are you coming down to London for a game of football?" And I said, "Oh, look, it doesn't matter about the finals. I want to see Arsenal in the cup final."
Yeah.
So Arsenal draw that cup final on the Saturday 1-1 against Sheffield Wednesday. That evening, I've gone to a party in London with a few friends from university.
Right.
And I remember that there was a girl there. She was quite pretty, and I was talking to her, not in the refined way that I would approach a girl now. I was 21, young,
just. Yeah, chauvinistic.
It was back in the day, and she was quite upset by my approach.
Okay.
And I remember she said, "Well, if you think you're going to impress me behaving like that, you can think again." And I wasn't really that fussed. And then we got into conversation. She said, "Well, why are you here? Because you're in Birmingham. What have you come down for?" I said, "Well, I was at the cup final today. Went to watch Arsenal play the cup final." She goes, "Oh, I was there as well."
Oh, did your ears prick up then?
So I said, "Really?" And the first thing I want to do, because I didn't believe her. I said, "So where were you sat when you know what block? Let's see where.
Let's see whereabouts you sat in the game.
So let's see where she sat."
Yeah.
And she goes, "Oh, I was in the Royal box." I said, "What do you mean you're in the Royal box?"
Yeah, then my ears would have really pricked up.
Yeah, mine did as well. Yeah. So I said, "Okay, so you're in the Royal box." I said, "Well, how'd you get in the Royal box?" She goes, "Oh, my dad's a director at Arsenal." I said, "Who's your dad?" She goes, "Daniel Fisman." I said, "Okay," and I'd kind of just about heard, this is way before, internet, and you didn't know the same, you didn't have the same kind of knowledge of the workings of the club. I'd vaguely heard of him. So I said, "Okay." So I said, "You going Thursday?" Because that was the replay. Back then you had replays, you didn't get sorted out in the day.
Yeah.
I said, "You going to the replay?" She goes, "Yeah." I said, "Look, I'd really love to take you out. How about Thursday night?"
Change your tune very quickly.
I was so refined at that point, so polite. And she says, "Okay, all right." I said, "Why don't we go to the game together?" I said, "I can meet your parents. Let's,
makes sense. Get in there and maybe, tickets will be great all the time."
Yeah. So she says, she goes, "Okay then," and she gave me her number.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So I thought,
it worked.
Well, let's finish the story.
Carry on the story. Yeah.
So this was back in the days of phone boxes rather than mobile phones.
Yep.
So you had a choice in the phone box. There was the 50p slot or the 10p slot.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, I don't really need to spend too much. So I put the 10p in. So I phoned her. It was on the Sunday, and I said, "Hi, it's Julian. We met last night." And she says, "Oh yeah, how are you?" She was quite friendly. I said, "Yeah, great." I said, "Look, no real time to talk because the Pips are going to go." And I said, "Look, can we just tell me where we're going to meet before the game?" She goes, "Well, you're not even going to ask me how I am." And I said, "No, I haven't got time, and I don't want to put 50p in. So let's just arrange to meet." The Pips go. This is
Pips. Explain to her. I didn't know what Pips were, but obviously, I think it's when the money's running out.
Well, the money's running out.
Perfect.
And the call goes. And I think, oh, should I put the 50p in? I thought, no, I was just too arrogant on the day. I never spoke to her again. I did go to the game. Arsenal win it. I think Andy Lindigan scored in the last minute of extra time.
Yeah.
And that was the end. And years later, I'm reading George Graham's autobiography, and there was a whole section on Daniel Fisman being one of the powerhouses behind Arsenal. And I'm thinking, what?
Blew it.
I absolutely blew it. This could have been, me and Daniel in the director's box at Arsenal, and I had all these visions.
I can imagine.
Yes, so that story's been and gone. So 9 years later, I'm struggling for a ticket for this United Championship decider.
Oh yeah, I forgot about this. So let's bring it back to this.
So I've gone to Highbury, remembered 89 and all the coaches leaving from Highbury. So I thought, right, now I'm desperate. I've put the £500 in my pocket, and I've gone up to Highbury, and I've gone on to every single coach, and I've basically held out the money. There's no negotiation here. Look, I've got £500. Anyone give up their ticket? I went on 10 different coaches.
Yeah.
Not one person would give up their ticket. So I've got off the coach. I'm a little bit despondent, but I've got one last chance. So I've pulled out my back pocket, the page from my Filofax that shows how old it was. Got a mobile phone by this time. It's 2002, and I've phoned Natalie. It's a landline number, 0208 number, and a lady's answered the phone. I've said, "Oh, hi, is Natalie there?" She said, "Oh, I think you got the wrong number." I said, "Oh,
it's been 9 years."
Yeah, it's been 9 years. And I said,
you'd expect.
"Yeah." I said, "Oh, I probably, it doesn't surprise me." I said, "Yeah, I met a girl called Natalie about 9 years ago, and she gave me her number. And I was just phoning up to say hi."
Yeah.
And the mother said, well, it turns out to be, she goes, "Oh, my daughter's called Natalie." I said, "Oh, really?" I said, "Oh, sis, you must be Daniel Fisman's wife." I said, "Yeah, Natalie gave me her number years ago. I said, if I ever need a ticket for an Arsenal game, I should give you a call."
No way.
And she starts laughing, the woman. She goes, "Yeah, my daughter, she's really funny, but my husband isn't a director at Arsenal. He's a plumber." And she goes, "Yeah, she used to string loads of stories to boys to impress them back in the day."
No way.
So that was the one thing I remember about that game is that's the only game recently, apart from the last cup final we won when we couldn't go. That was at Box Park. That's the only game since 1986 that I wasn't actually at. But I have to say, I made every effort to be there.
Blimey. So wait. Oh my God, my head's fried. So the girl, did she lie? Because... Or did she said so she must have lied, but did she lie? Because when she said about the royal box and... Oh, she had a really good knowledge of...
She had a really good knowledge. I mean, she got me hook, line and sinker.
Jeez Louise.
Yeah.
Julian,
Natalie.
Jeez, Natalie. That's a story. That's a real story.
That's
the
story.
only game you...
It's the only game I missed. So where was I? I was sat at home.
Crying, looking at the number.
I watched it.
Natalie,
crying. Yeah, but I watched it on TV, and I'll tell you what was different for me, and why it's not. It's memorable for the reasons I wasn't there.
Yeah.
But I remember when the game finished, I just switched off the TV. You know, they just won the double.
Yeah.
Switched off TV, and I'm sat there on my own at home. Whereas you don't have the same thing. And this is the thing with lockdown. I know some people criticise me because I said at the beginning of the season, even when we were losing, I'm really enjoying the experience.
Yeah.
You know, even though I wasn't enjoying the performances. But, you know, lockdown was similar for a lot of people. You didn't have that crowd around you and people were isolated. And looking back at 2002, Arsenal win the league at Old Trafford, which was phenomenal. It should have been one of the greatest moments of my life. But I watched it at home on my own.
Blimey. Julian, there's so many questions on that story. We're not going to it too lots because there's some other dates we want to get through. But like, she is either a genius or you got fooled or you didn't get fooled. And
well, I did get fooled because I ended up watching the game on my own, and I didn't get into the Raw box in '93. So
should have paid that 50p. That's what
should have paid the 50. That's the moral of that story.
Yeah, that is the moral. You should have paid the extra bit of money to get the details. There's some super chats. I've got a super chat from Shref saying, big up Shref as well, a regular. Majority players lack loyalty and seriousness. We had men who wanted to win. That's a fact. And now we have fellas who can't do a simple throw-ins. Sums up how far we are. I mean, it's here nor there. At times, obviously, there's some of the players that can make throw-ins. We still have a problem in the right back.
Tommy Askew was.
Yeah, he did a foul for. Yeah,
he did a couple. That's one thing I remember about Saturday.
Oh, at Brighton.
It was like, Bellerin's been doing throw-in training.
Yeah, he did a foul throw as well, Tommy Askew, and so did I think it was Tavares as well. Did a foul throw as well. A few times, but I only got pulled up once. A couple of weeks ago, and I'm just like, he's right there with the throw-ins. The throw-ins need work. There needs to be a throwing coach or someone. Not even a coach.
It's like, but I can take a throw-in.
But it's simple. I think anyone that's been in football the majority of their life knows how to take a throw-in. But yeah, I mean, back in the day, the majority, a lot of the players and the mindsets were completely different to how they are now. Not saying they don't have winners, but we had Sky Andrews obviously in here today, and he was speaking about the mentality and characters that are in the Arsenal side in the Invincible team. You don't really have that. You have obviously individuals that have some of it, but not like it was then. Like you have real winners, serial winners, and characters that take ownership and really can change a game or off their own accord.
Yeah, and I don't want to give too much away from Sky's podcast, but one of the themes of it was he felt that a lot of players have the ability, but what makes the difference is the mentality.
Exactly, and that's what's key. And he said that a lot.
He did say that a lot. And he was looking. He said, "Look, most of us can identify the talent, but what I can identify is the desire and the attitude."
I agree. Let me move on quickly. We're gonna go to another day, but I want to quickly just ask you, because you touched on the FA Cup final, the most recent one, August 1st, 2020, Arsenal versus Chelsea, won 2-0. A very much a recent one to people listening.
That was 2-1. Was it
2-1? Yeah, 2-1. Did I say 2-0?
Yeah, I think so.
Sorry, I meant 2-1. Sorry, 2. Yeah, obviously Christian Pulisic scored the first 5 minutes.
Yeah,
I was like, here we go. This is it. It's not going to be our day. And then Aubameyang, he stepped up and scored both goals. Where were you? Because where was I? Where were you first? Let me ask you. Where were you? Because I know AFTV did a big thing.
Yeah.
At Box Park, were you with them?
It was one of my first invites to be involved with AFTV.
Interesting.
So it was kind of, I'd been on my own. It was.
So you missed the going. Could you have gone to the game?
No. But there was no.
Oh, it was fans.
There was no fans.
Oh my God!
I mean, I was even thinking, could I go? Wouldn't it be a coup to get into this game?
Yeah, if I could just check that number one more time, if I could find that Fisman's door, maybe this could be the. Yeah. Okay, there was no fans then. So,
but I had a call from Robbie. He says, look, we're doing this thing at Box Park called like a watch along.
Yeah,
I hadn't really heard of a watch along. So he goes, would you like to come? I said, yeah, for sure. It's like, do I want to watch it on my own, or do I want to watch it with a few new friends?
Yeah.
And I remember walking into Box Park.
Did you question what a watch along was at the time? Because
I didn't really.
Did you just go along with it?
It was like a bit of a concept. It's like he said, well, we're going to watch the game, and we're going to film you watching the game. And it's like, why would anyone want to watch me watch a game?
Yeah.
But now, obviously, we know.
It's a big thing now.
It's a big thing. Yeah. It's a big thing. So I hadn't been on AFTV at all. I mean, I think I'd been to little very fleeting experiences, and I walked in there and I was excited about the game. And I was slightly nervous that this is going to be on screen, and I'd not been in front of the camera too often, and I didn't know what I was expecting. And no one really tells you. I mean, it's like you
just go.
Yeah, just turn up.
Just do you.
There's not really any sort of rules and regulations to adhere to. It's like, where do I sit? And I remember. Sort of Helen, it was almost like the first day at school, and Helen said, "Oh, you can come and sit next to me."
Oh, seriously? Yeah, that's when Helen, you first, obviously you and Helen are very close now. We obviously good friends. So okay, interesting.
Yeah, she said, "Oh, do you want to come and sit next to me?" I said, "Oh, okay." So we'll sit next to each other. So like Helen was my first friend. So
like the first day of school.
It was the first day at school, and and it was a great experience, and I got to meet some of the guys at AFTV and it was just brilliant. And suddenly I had like friends. It wasn't at the game, but it was the next best thing.
Yeah.
Because I had people around me that were similar to me, and it was a little gang. It was a nice little gang of people.
Yeah, no, it is a nice group, nice bunch of characters that you're with. Yeah,
very much so.
Yeah, so it must have been quite an amazing atmosphere though, as well, as having them all being all together and whatnot.
Yeah. It was, and the other thing, because we're at Box Park, Wembley, we could see the stadium. I mean, you've been there. Yeah. You can see the stadium, so you were almost there. You're as close as you could be.
Literally just a stone throw away.
You are a stone's throw. You could.
Yeah, you could. Yeah. I'm surprised you didn't run out and try and get in and try and speak your words and be like, you know what? Come on, there must be a way to wangle myself. I
did think about it, but I was having such a good time, within that group.
Yeah.
And it was nice, and there was loads of people there as well, and it was as good as it could be for not being there.
Amazing.
It was a very close alternative.
Amazing. No, I can imagine. I believe I was probably actually just at home watching it. I haven't got an amazing story. I know you have a great memory of the stories of where you were. I know when we speak about dates, you always go, actually Arsenal played then. I didn't that day. I don't think I have an interesting story, but I'm going to go to the fifth one, April 23rd. 1980, Juventus versus Arsenal. We beat them 1-0. This was quite a special day. At first I didn't realise. I'm going to read out why. Arsenal became the first English outfit in a quarter century to win at Juventus when Paul Vassen secured a 1-0 win for the Gunners in Turin in April 1980, with the two sides having played to a score draw at Highbury, which I believe you were at.
I was at that game, yeah.
Yep, and a 0-0 result would have taken
Juventus.
Yep, through to the final of the
goals.
Cup Winners' Cup. So I was not born. Okay, I wasn't even a twinkle in my mum's eye at that time. So you didn't. Did you make it? Did you go over to Juve?
No, I was taken to the first leg by my father. It was one of the earliest games that I remember being at.
It was a long time. Yeah,
it was a long time. I was either 8 or 9 years old.
And you remember where you were?
I was in the West Upper, I think.
Yeah.
I remember being at the ground. I remember the view I had. Yeah. So from that view, I could work out where I was.
At 9 years old.
Yeah, so that's the recollection I had. And I also.
This is mad.
And I also remember saying to my dad, because Juventus were this phenomenal team, and Arsenal weren't really that great at that time. So we weren't expected to win.
Right.
And my dad was sort of telling me about Italian football and about, look, it's a bit boring. They're technically really good. And he was trying to
that time.
Yeah, and he was trying to explain it to me. And from memory, I think Juventus scored first. And I remember my dad saying, well, that's it, but at least you've seen Juventus. He was taking me. You know how we sing that song, You've Only Come See the Arsenal?
Yeah.
I was only being taken to see Juventus. We weren't expecting.
It's weird how things.
It was a weird change. And I think there was a Tardelli. There was a very well-known Juventus player that scored an own goal with about 5 minutes to go.
Yeah.
What's his name? Have you got it there? It was either like Tardelli or something. He was very well known back in the day.
Okay, I haven't got it. I don't think.
So he scores and it's 1-1. My dad goes, "You've seen a great night." My dad's always a pessimist. He said, but they'll get beaten in Juventus, in Turin, because they're just really good back home. But at least you've seen Arsenal not lose. You've seen Juventus. It's a good experience. And this was back before live television games, and I don't know where we'd gone, but I was out with my parents. I think we'd gone out to eat or something. We were coming back in the car and we're listening to the end of the game on the radio.
Yeah.
And my dad we had a driveway, like remember a stone driveway that led up to the garage. And my dad used to let me drive the car once we got onto our kind of driveway.
It must be a pretty big drive, but
it wasn't that big. I remember it was really narrow.
Oh, okay,
it was really narrow.
When you said you let him drive, does that mean? Because my dad used to let me do the steering wheel.
Yeah, and I'd sit on his lap.
Yeah.
And we're listening to the game. I'm sitting on his lap and I'm steering it basically just straight.
Yeah.
And there's a few minutes to go. And if we pull into the garage, the radios are not quite at the quality there. If we pulled into the garage, we'd have lost reception.
Yeah.
So my recollection is sitting on my dad's lap, listening to that last few minutes in the car.
Yeah. And
Paul Vassen scored, I think it was the 88th minute. And I was just...
Did your dad go crazy? Did he throw you out the car?
No, my dad was... He never really showed him... He liked football. He does still like football, but he doesn't show the same emotion. I remember getting so excited because my dad had told me... This is what I didn't... I said, my dad had told me Arsenal weren't going to win.
Yeah.
So Arsenal won, so my dad's wrong. So my dad doesn't know as much as I think he does, because my dad says Arsenal are going to lose. Arsenal don't have a chance.
He was very pessimistic, wasn't he? He really was.
Yeah.
When it comes to the Arsenal.
Yeah, they're going to lose.
Yeah.
But be grateful you went. And the one thing that I remember being so excited that they'd won and surprised, and also surprised my dad got it wrong. But you now look back on it, and it's quite an interesting story about the guy that scores the winning goal for Arsenal, Paul Vassen. Don't know how much you know about him.
Well, I don't know loads.
Okay, so he was a young forward. Hadn't really heard of him back then.
Yeah.
He's breaking through. He gets brought on in, I think, something like 78th minutes, towards the end of the game.
Right.
And he scores this goal. I remember Pierre-Emerick crossed it from the left and he scores a header. That was his moment. Paul Vassen has scored. A little bit later on, literally a year or so later, he damages knee ligaments. And back then, this is a career-ending injury.
Yeah.
And at 21, he's having to retire from football. Now, his life went... This is, we think about footballers now and how wealthy they are, and this kind of money that's involved. We talked about the Newcastle, the telephone number, salaries.
Yeah. The crazy numbers,
So this guy, Paul Vassen, ends up with nothing. He's 21. He's he's convicted a few years later of an assault on a police officer after stealing a pair of tights. He stabbed 6 times, losing 40 pints of blood in a drug deal that goes wrong.
Yeah.
He dies twice on the operating theatre. At 39, he dies of a heroin overdose, drugs overdose. And it's amazing how you can go from literally scoring the winning goal for Arsenal in a semi-final of a major European competition, and his life just unravels after that. And I think it's something that's very sobering thought of how life can go. It's a sliding doors moment.
Yeah, definitely. Well, boy, that was a story. Thank you for that, Julian, as well, for letting us into where you were as well at that moment and all that knowledge. I didn't know you know a lot. Thank you for that. I didn't know much about Paul Watson, but now
I remember games back in the day more than I remember Saturday at Brighton. As I proved on the fan cam.
Yeah, well, fair. The obscure vision and the rain and the cold and where we're sat. Let's just quickly do 2 more to wrap up. We'll keep these kind of short. Let's just quickly do May 4th, 1994, Arsenal win 1-0 to Parma. Now, the reason why I put this in is because Parma, I remember being told how good of a team they were, but I never really, obviously I still wasn't born then, but I didn't really know how good they were. You look at some of the players that were involved in the squad. They had Zola, Pin, they had Brolin, Asprilla. They had some big players, but I didn't realise how big they were. And obviously the win that Arsenal, we beat them 1-0. Was that in the final of the years? It was the years of cup winners, I believe. That was the final.
It was cup winners cup.
Yeah.
Again, we weren't expected to win. I remember everything. The important things about the game. Alan Smith's goal. It was again a game we weren't expected to win, and we won, and it was fabulous. But one of the memories I have. I spent the week in Copenhagen. It was lovely. I had a great week there. Yeah. I remember the guy in front of me. And the game was in the evening, and he was unconscious in front of me before the game and slept through the whole game. And I think he woke up for about 20 seconds when Arsenal got the cup and then fell back asleep again. He was so drunk.
Do you know what? That's kind of resembles a lot of, not a lot, but we've been going to away games and people, I mean, they're enjoying themselves, but sometimes...
but I can't imagine how he did enjoy it. He's like, I've got stories I could talk about the game. I know we haven't got time, but there's a lot that I remember. He won't remember anything. Yeah. He remembers waking up probably doesn't remember waking up for 10 seconds. Yeah. He was asleep the whole game. He was so drunk, and I was like looking at him after the game. I thought, this is could have been one of the greatest moments in his life. Yeah. And he just slept through the whole thing.
That's sad. It is a shame because like I said, sometimes I get people it's their day out at times to go and watch Arsenal or the Arsenal. You want to go and watch Arsenal. Like you want to go support the team. So I'm not saying, listen, I'm not going against anyone drinking and having a good time. But like you said, that guy that just slept and missed all of it. Yeah, it's a massive game that he's just missed.
And he's travelled all the way to Copenhagen to go to sleep. He could have just walked upstairs or slept on his sofa.
Exactly that. Let me go to May 21st, 2005. Arsenal 0, Man United 0, 5-4 to Arsenal in penalties. Man United outplayed the Gunners that day in Cardiff, but Paul Scholes missed a penalty, proved to be the deciding factor in an unlikely Arsenal win. All five of manager Arsene Wenger's players scored from the spot. Patrick Vieira's conversion sealing the victory.
Patrick Vieira's last ever kick for Arsenal.
Interesting. I should have known that. I didn't know that.
Yeah, how long have we got on this one?
2 seconds.
Not too long. Okay, to the camera.
Yeah, we'll have to scrap that story then.
But the story.
Yeah, there's a story, but we'll save it for another time. It's not a story that can be rushed.
Okay, perfect. We'll Julian, we're going to do this again, and people in the comments as well. I don't know where you guys were at that time. Do let us know. We are coming towards the end of the show. I did want to say quickly. I'm going to quickly Google this because I got this as we were going live. Literally the second before we were going live that Arsenal played in-house friendly today.
Did we win?
Hold on. Will Rickett says, were you born in 2005? I wasn't born in 2005. No, I was not. I was born in 1995. But yeah. So quickly, just the in-house game was against QPR today. We did win.
Fabulous. Another victory. And did we concede?
I believe we did concede. We conceded 2 with the Arsenal 1 3-2. It was that the Gunners have several players not Not cool. Oh, so there's the players that kind of didn't get called up for international duty. So I'm reading this as
that's
I'm
the
telling
majority
you
of
guys.
them.
Yeah, that's pretty much a lot of the team. But it was at the duties to the training ground. Sorry, I'm reading this and giving you the news as I'm reading it. So this is from Football London. Understands that Mikel Arteta opted for a strong lineup that included Gabriel Martinelli. Surprised, I haven't seen him in a while. Glad he got some minutes, but hopefully we see him when the league starts.
He is my favourite.
He is your favourite. Gabriel played, Ben White, Ainsley Maitland-Niles and Alexander Lacazette. Several of the other youngsters were also involved, including 17-year-old defender Taylor Foran. I wonder if Patino played. It'd be interesting. But yes, that is kind of the news I have for you all today. Sorry, that was the last minute news before we wrap up. But we did win in a behind closed doors game, 3-2 against QPR. Thank you for watching this special kind of episode of Daily News. Thank you, Julian, as well, for joining me and telling us your stories, honestly, and taking us through history, really.
Yeah,
it's nice to hear about dates that I wasn't born. Obviously, I've looked back at some things recently, but hearing it from you and being there is a whole nother insight. So thank you so much for doing that. And thank you everyone for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and comment. And before I go, there's a lot of content coming your way, a lot of podcasts. We spoke about Julian, filmed one today with Harvey. Marble Halls is coming your way soon with Sky Andrews, the guy that broke the deal for Soul Camp. So look out for that. Look out for also the other podcasts that are coming your way. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time on Daily News.